Test, test, Joyce. Let me know if you can hear me. Yay.
Public is encouraged, or welcome to our meeting, April 20th meeting. Members of the public are encouraged to participate in meetings by accessing the website on the city's website, or 2, providing written comment at the same website, or 3, participating by phone or coming to the Planning Commission and meeting in person. I'll call the meeting to order, and please join me in saluting the flag of our republic. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Madam Secretary, may we have the roll?
Commissioner Antuna? Here. Commissioner Bedstead is absent today. Commissioner Hatcher? Here. Commissioner Hinkle?
Here.
And Chair Cunningham.
And I'm here, barely. Let's see here. Commission Secretary comments.
Thank you. The only comments that we have this evening are to wish the outgoing Chair and Planning Commissioner, our distinguished Mr. Michael Cunningham, for his many years of service as a Planning Commissioner. For anybody that is here this evening that is not aware, Mr. Cunningham's normal term, ends this evening, and he has decided not to avail himself of another term, and told the council as such. So tonight's meeting will be his last meeting. We have a cake for him afterwards, and so if you're inclined, we welcome anybody here this evening to stick around and give him a hard time about leaving the commission, and maybe enjoy a piece of cake as well. So Mike's been with us since 2016. He's served as Chair Pro Tem for a couple of years and has been enjoying, I think, your first term, partial term as chair since the beginning of this year. You filled in for a number of meetings during your pro tem role as chair, and I think we've all appreciated your patience and your thoughtfulness as you approach the business of the commission. And I know that the staff in particular has appreciated the persimmon cookies around the holidays. So we'll miss that. I don't think there's any reason for that to end necessarily, so you know where to find us. So anyway, we thank you so much for your time, and we hope that anybody that fills your chair in the future couldn't possibly fill your shoes, but cares as much as you do about the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. I appreciate the kind comments. I wanted to let everyone know just how big an honor it was to share the dias with 4 other very qualified individuals. I've enjoyed immensely working with the staff, found them to be all pleasant, very professional, on top of things, helping me a lot. My chair position, I believe, will be taken over by a very capable member in Commissioner Antuna. Life goes on, and I'm looking forward to my retirement. Thank you. Any further comments, sir?
I think that about does it. Thank you.
Okay, and then we'll move to Planning Commissioner comments. None? Yes, sir.
I wanted to thank you for being part of us.
Thank you.
For the many years. You have been very beneficial. You have been a real asset to us and the city of Clovis.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate the kind comments.
I concur.
Okay. Nothing else? Good. We'll move on then to public comments. This is the opportunity for anyone in the public to speak to the commission on any item not on the agenda. I thought public comments was first. No, I guess it wasn't. Well, first we'll, what the heck. You wouldn't expect a perfect meeting. I guess we'll do the public comments, and we'll go ahead and approve the minutes. Is there anyone in the chambers wishing to comment? Seeing none, anyone online?
There are none.
Thank you. Now we'll get back online and, call for, approval of the previous month's minutes.
Motion to approve the Planning Commission minutes for the meeting of March 20th, 2023.
I'll second that. Call the roll.
All right, so I have a motion from Commissioner Antuna to approve the March 20th Planning Commission minutes, and a second by Chair Cunningham. Commissioner Antuna?
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher?
Yes.
Commissioner Hinkle?
Yes.
And Chair Cunningham.
And I'm a yes as well. We'll move now into public hearings. Item number 1 is consider approval of a resolution concerning track map 6203, request to approve a 1-year extension to the approved vesting tentative track map 6203 located on the west side of Thompson Avenue between Ashland, Dakota Avenues, and 2, find that the project is exempt from further environmental review under sections 15162 and 15182 of the California Environment Quality Act guidelines. KB Homes, owner applicant, Shannon Travis, representative, and our staff is Liz Salazar.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, Commissioners. Track map 6203 is located on the west side of Thompson Avenue between Ashland and Dakota Avenues, as shown here. 6203 is a 19 single-family residential subdivision. It was originally approved by City Council in November of 2017. KB Home is currently in construction of 3 residential subdivisions that are surrounding this one. Therefore, it does not anticipate taking these lots to market until 2024. Therefore, they're requesting the 1-year extension. Per the subdivision MACT app in the Clovis Development Code, original approval is granted for a period of 3 years. Track map 6203 would have expired in November of 2020. However, in August of 2020, the COVID emergency order paused the track maps. At that point in time, track map 6203 did have 104 days remaining of the 3-year period. In March of 2022, the termination of the COVID emergency order ended, and the pause continued for 1 additional year. In March of 2023, the 1-year extension pause ended officially, and the remaining 104 days was added to the expiration. Therefore, the expiration date is now June 26th of 2023. So the Subdivision MACT Act and the Clovis Development Code allow for 6 1-year extension requests, so this would be their technical first extension request. Based on the findings stated in the staff report and no adverse effects to the surrounding properties, staff is recommending the Planning Commission approve the 1-year extension of track map 6203.
Okay, thank you. Commission have any questions for staff? Seeing none, I'll open this to public comment with the applicant if they so choose to address the commission first. Is the applicant here? All right. Okay, thank you. Anyone else in the public wishing to comment on this item for or against? Seeing no one in chambers, anyone online?
There's no one.
Okay, we'll return it to the commission for any comments or questions. Final? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve TM 6203 for a 1-year extension.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second for extending a 1-year extension. Ask the secretary to call the roll, please.
All right, so I have a motion by Commissioner Hatcher to approve a one-year extension for vesting tentative track map 6203, and a second by Commissioner Hinkle. Commissioner Antuna?
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher?
Yes.
Commissioner Hinkle?
Yes.
And Chair Cunningham.
And I'm a yes. Thank you. Move on to item number 2. Consider approval to rezone 2023-003, request to establish rezoning classifications for approximately 333 acres of property, and to modify rezoning classifications on approximately 35 acres within an overall project area generally bounded by Shepherd Avenue on the south, Willow Avenue on the west, the Enterprise Canal on the north, and on the Peach Avenue alignment on the east. And 2, find that the project is exempt from further environmental review under sections 15162 and 15182 of the California Environmental Quality Act guidelines. City of Clovis is the applicant. Our staff is the city planner, Mr. Merchant.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the Commission. As you noted, this project is a pre-zoning application that would be in support of a future annexation. This is a city-initiated project. The council initiated the pre-zoning and the annexation process at its March 6th meeting. The overall project boundary includes 26 properties covering just about 500 acres. The purpose of the pre-zoning and the annexation is to bring the properties into the city to accommodate housing sites inventory, to accommodate the housing sites inventory that is required for a six-cycle housing inventory, six-cycle housing element. The city has been working with property owners and developers in this area for a couple of years, maybe a handful of years, on applications that would bring the properties in question into the city. But because the annexation must be completed by the end of the calendar year, the city took this on as a city-initiated process because the development timeline would not have gotten us there by that deadline. The pre-zoning is consistent with the existing general plan designation, so there's no changes in land use or densities or anything like that associated with this application. The graphic on the screen shows what the pre-zoning map would look like if the pre-zoning is adopted. There are traditional residential districts, R2, R3, R4, public facility designation that would allow park and water uses, and a planned commercial site along the Willow corridor. In the middle of that list, there's an urban center designation. That's the kind of the hatched area that's red and yellowish, covering a good amount of the project area. And I'll explain a little bit more what that urban center zone is all about just a little bit later in the presentation. The area in question includes really two distinctive areas. The area north of the dashed line is north of Beeheimer, and south is south of Beeheimer. So basically, the dashed line is the Beeheimer alignment. So properties north of Beeheimer were previously master planned and pre-zoned by the city back in 2019 as part of the city center's master plan process. I think all of the members of the commission were on the commission back in 2019 when that project was approved, so you may recall this adoption. That master plan is still in effect and will guide development of these properties north of Beeheimer as they come in and propose to move forward into the individual site and construction processes. The only problem with the master plan is that it references the quote-unquote mixed-use village zone district, and the development code doesn't have that actual district listed amongst the zone districts. So this process would clarify for the area shown in the yellow and red hatched area that that zoning would be urban center and not mixed-use village, which technically doesn't exist as a zone district. So it's a technical change as opposed to a substantive one. South of Beeheimer, this area has not previously been pre-zoned, and so new zone districts would be established pursuant to the general plan. There are a couple of traditional districts as well as a public facility site, which is a flood district basin. But the urban center zone is the predominant zoning in this area. The urban center zone is intended to be applied within commercial village center areas that are located in designated urban growth areas like Heritage Grove. And it is a mixed-use zone that allows a customizable mix of residential, commercial, and other complementary and supporting facilities. So like the area to the north of Beheimer, the urban center needs to have some implementation criteria. So north of Beheimer, it's the community or the city center's master plan. South of Beheimer, we need something to define how the urban center zone is going to be implemented and applied. We've included with this application what we're calling a preliminary master plan, which would facilitate development upon annexation. In a preliminary master plan, properties that are zoned urban center are placed into plan areas, and those are shown graphically on the image to the left of the screen. And the planning areas provide for land use, residential density, and commercial intensity standards within each respective area, so they're customized to each respective area. Now, it's very likely that some of those plan areas are going to be subject to a comprehensive specific plan, and we know that's currently being worked on. That's likely to come. And when that does ultimately come and get adopted, it would replace the preliminary plan that is in front of you this evening. But in the meantime, the intention is to provide enough information to allow the urban center zone to be implemented starting right after annexation actually occurs. So here's an example of what that preliminary master plan looks like in terms of several of the planning areas. It provides a description of permitted uses, building intensity, building setbacks, parking lot setbacks, and parking requirements. A couple of these standards, there are project-specific or planning area-specific criteria that are set, but for the most part, we reference the standards and land use schedules in existing known zone districts. So rather than taking all of those criteria and putting them in this master plan, we're just referencing existing zone districts. We've done that in other areas, and it seems to make sense for the most part. And for these planning areas specifically, I think it's likely that they're going to be replaced by a comprehensive plan in the future, which includes detailed design criteria and all manner of other features. So that is the proposal this evening. In terms of public outreach, there was an owners meeting held for all 26 owners that are included in the project boundary back in February, the last day of February of this year. 13 participants attended that meeting, and those participants represented 18 of the 26 property owners. During that meeting, there were no objections identified to the pre-zoning. There were a handful of questions about the annexation and what it would mean to individual property owners, mostly related to sewer and water connections, but there were a few other questions as well. We answered many of those questions during the meeting, and then we provided follow-up information to several of the owners afterwards. Tended to be that the majority of the questions came from rural residential property owners, several of those properties are sprinkled throughout the overall 500-acre area. Those are properties where people tend to live currently, and so they're not as focused on future development potential, at least not immediately. And so their questions are oriented around, when can they connect, or when do they have to connect to sewer or water, or what land use standards would apply, and those sorts of things. So that doesn't really affect the pre-zoning that is under consideration by the commission this evening, but will certainly come into play as the council considers annexation later in May. The recommendation from staff this evening is for the commission to adopt a resolution recommending approval of the pre-zone application, and includes the environmental finding as described in the project title, which exempts the project from further review. Staff would be happy to answer any questions if the commission has any.
Commission have any questions for Mr. Merchant? None? Okay. Open. I guess there's no applicant on this, so you've already spoken, so you only get one chance.
Sure.
But I'll open public comment to anyone in chambers wishing to speak on this item. There's a little button on the microphone that turn, and it'll turn the red light on, so you're recorded. Thank you.
Here we go. Thank you.
Give us your name, please.
Yes, my name is Gary Horn.
All right, sir.
I'm with Yamabe and Horn Engineering, and we're representing Valley Christian Center, who holds the property in trust for the International Church, the Foursquare Gospel, at the northeast corner of Willow and Beeheimer, about 40 acres. And they asked me to express their approval of the annexation and recommend that you adopt the resolution before you and move the project along. And we very much appreciate the city taking the lead on this.
Thank you, Mr. Horn. Is there any questions for Mr. Horn? None? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak on this item? Yes, sir. Come forward, please. State your name for us, please.
Good evening. My name is R. Kellerisian. My business address is 389 Clovis Avenue, Suite 100. I'm here on behalf of Heritage Development and the Riccuti family, who has some property in this area. And I want to thank staff for the time that they've given to helping us. As you may know, we're working on a large planning effort, which in talking with Mr. Merchant is incorporated into what is being presented here today. We did have some questions to staff about making sure that after this has gone through, in that time period between approval and when development occurs, that the Riccuti family would be able to continue farming with their water and all of those types of related issues. And it seems like everything would be able to proceed as they are today, and then just making sure that we have the infrastructure needed and the rollout to be able to accommodate all of this. Some of these are annexation issues, but we just wanted to come up and say we have been working with the city on these issues and are moving forward with our planning efforts as well. And I'm available if you have any questions also. Thank you.
Any questions? No. Thank you, sir. Is anyone else wishing to speak to the commission on this item?
Hello, my name is John Lacey, and I live at 3280 East Beeheimer. And I guess my wife and I's concern is that our area was designated a park in the future plans, and we're just wondering we've only lived there owned for 2 years, coming on 2 years, and we're just wondering what that looks like for us going forward with whether we can stay there and all this development goes on around us, or if it's something where we only can sell and there's no other options, and what our return on investment looks like. So we just have some concerns on the future of we didn't plan on buying something and then moving right away. We do have access to water there in the canal, Enterprise Canal, and we water our 2.09 acres, and we just have some questions and would like to know a little more about what's going on. So,
and have you contacted anyone at our planning and development?
We came to the owners meeting that night, and we like the area, and so we just want to bring up some concerns in the meeting. So. Okay.
Did you get any of your questions answered?
Not directly. Some of the questions were said, oh, may have these options or those. We've been I don't know. Everything seems like it can go forward. We just want to make sure we have our all our options in front of us. So.
Okay.
Okay.
Any questions for Mr. Lacey? None? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak on this item in chambers? Seeing no one in chambers, anyone online?
There are none.
Thank you. We'll return it to the commission for any final comments or questions.
Mr. Chair, if I could just make a note in response to Mr. Lacey's comments. Yes. Feel free to reach out, and we'll set up a time to meet individually, and I can provide as much information as we have available. And this will obviously go to the council as well, and you're welcome to come and express any concerns that you have at that point. But we certainly want to make sure you have all the information that we can give you. In general, I can't remember which property it is, but I believe Mr. Lacey's property is in this area here, where there's a cluster of small parcels, a portion of which are designated for park use. And that land use pattern was established back on the 2014 general plan and then repeated in the city center's master plan. I always have to think twice about what the title of that master plan. So it has been established for a number of years. The existing ownership and the use can continue for as long as the property is held privately, and at some point the city may come in and acquire the property or inquire about acquiring the property, but your use and enjoyment of the property isn't restricted by the prezoning or the annexation.
Thank you, Mr. Merchant. And the commissioners have any final comments or questions? I'll entertain a motion then.
Actually, I did have one comment, Dave. Do we need to, when we motion to approve, do we also need to acknowledge the project being exempt from CEQA?
It doesn't need to be a separate action item. It's rolled into the resolution, and you make that finding by adopting the resolution that's in front of you.
Okay. Motion to approve the pre-zoned 2023-003, a request to establish pre-zoning classification for approximately 333 acres of property and to modify pre-zoning classifications on approximately 35 acres.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. I ask the secretary to call the roll.
All right, so I have a motion by Commissioner Antuna and second by Commissioner Hatcher to approve rezone 2023-003 to establish pre-zoning classifications for approximately 333 acres of property and to modify pre-zoning classifications on approximately 35 acres within the overall project area. Commissioner Antuna?
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher?
Yes.
Commissioner Hinkle?
Yes.
And Chair Cunningham.
And I'm a yes. Okay, anything final before I'll call the meeting as adjourned until May at 6:27.